Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable Podcast. We are here recording episode 144, and today things are going to get lit. They're going to be popping because we are going to be talking about some of the best nightlife destinations or party places in different countries for you. So to all of our party goers or our night owls who enjoy getting their social butterfly out, this is the episode for you, and we hope to give you a few new and exciting places that you can go explore the next time you want to let loose, let everything hang out. Maybe don't do that, I don't know. But we're going to bring you some new places to go and to visit, and we're looking forward to it. So without further ado, my buddy, who is not the club goer, but it's still a great time to hang out with, my buddy Jared. What's going on, Jared?
Hello. I think what you're looking to say is let your freak flag fly.
There we go. There we go.
Know your local laws before you just let it all hang out.
That's true. That's true.
What a great way to explain me. I'm not a club goer, but I'm still a fun guy to hang around. Now that's true. I'm not a club goer, but that doesn't mean I don't like a good party. Let's just be clear.
True. Very true.
I don't like to get my partying in at the club. I'm more of a house party kind of person. I can get down at a house party. But we'll get into that later for now.
Spread a little love.
Follow us on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter, Untranslatable1, the number 1. You can give us those 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher.
Spread a little love.
You could email us, untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. You could
spread a little love.
Give us 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. You could also go to our website, untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. Hey, give us some untranslatables. You're welcome to give us some topic ideas. But I think really now Chad and I are really starting to hit our stride. And by Chad and I mean Chad, because he decides about 98% of the topics that we do on this podcast. He's been doing great. And we've had some great conversations here. Spread the word. Spread some love.
Spread a little love.
And let
most
people
definitely
know. Hey, Chad, weren't you celebrating, once again, we're breaking the time continuum, but I want to talk to my buddy. Weren't you celebrating Halloween this weekend?
I was, yeah. I was in Beijing, and we went to a couple different bars for Halloween. But although most of the bars we were at were more expat-focused bars, so people were wearing some costumes, we didn't go to any specific costume parties, and which was good for me because I did not have a costume. So I was probably the worst American in Beijing on Halloween. No costume.
Wow.
So... there we go. I like the improvisation, Jared. Very good.
That's what I was trying to do in a frantic moves before the episode. I was trying to get that
right
to work, and I didn't. But anyway,
I've gotta tell you, Jared. You would think after, I'm 28. You would think after 7 years of being able to legally drink according to U.S. laws, 10 years if we're going by Europe here, at least for everything, 12 years if we're talking beer and wine in
15
Germany.
years if we're being honest on how you lived your life.
Anyways, you would think, though, Jared, that I would learn that if you're going out during the weekend, and you're planning on going out on Friday night and Saturday night, you never go full force on Friday night. Well, it's safe to say I went full force on Friday night. Definitely let loose.
Is this the first time you've gone, quote-unquote, full force?
Many fregista. In China?
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah? Maybe. I don't know. When Annabelle was here, we also had a great time.
Okay.
We went to a club, and that was pretty crazy because when we went to the club, it was girls' night, and like if you had a contact at the club, like this one guy had like a guest list, and so we were on this guest list, and so it was free entry and free drinks for girls all night long.
Yeah.
And then for me, I had to pay 50 RMB, which was like like $12 or something for entry and for open bar the whole night. So that night got a little wild as well.
Okay.
But
Good prices.
But anyways,
even for the for you. What's a club like in Beijing?
just like a club everywhere else. I mean, this one was pretty cool. It was
Is it very multicultural? A lot of expats.
a lot of expats. Also, though, there was a decent crowd of Chinese people there. But what was interesting was this club had like one floor that was pretty crowded. They had a big dance floor. And then downstairs, they had like a basement bar and dance floor area with another DJ. And that's where the open bar was. So we
Okay.
spent most of the time downstairs there. But it was cool. It was fun. I liked it.
Did you interact with any of the expats?
Not really. I was with Annabelle and then another friend of mine.
Right.
And so we were just kind of hanging out.
Right. Did you have any opinion on the expats around you?
Good question.
I just want to know what they're like, you know? What's an expat bar like?
I
It
will
feels
s-
like
I
you're in
will s-
Europe or something?
I'll say this. I think the vibe I get from expat bars here in China is way different than the vibe I got from expat bars in Prague. The expat bars
Yeah.
in Prague got really lit. They were usually pretty crazy. In China, at least the places that I've been going to, other than the club, they're a bit more chill.
I wonder if people are generally more concerned about getting quote unquote lit in China than they are in Prague, you know? Expats.
I don't think so. I think the difference is here, at least. I'm going to be honest. I think the expats here in China are way
Nerds.
friendlier.
Oh.
And I think that's because there's less of us. I mean, in Beijing, there's obviously a high amount of expats, but I mean, it's the truth of the matter is it's harder to get into China than it is to get into the Czech Republic. You know,
Right.
if you're European, it's very easy to get into Prague.
Right.
I wouldn't even really consider you an expat if you're European and you're in Prague. Really, I would consider an expat somebody from like Asia,
Yeah,
from
not
the
if you're
U.S., from South
European. I mean,
America.
Being
Right.
like from like, I don't know, Germany and living in Prague, that's like me living in Philadelphia and being from Michigan.
Right. or even you living in Canada.
Yeah, that's
You're
true.
still
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
so
yeah.
close to Canada. Yeah, to me it's different. But yeah, so it was a lot of fun though. Went too hard though on Friday, so Saturday was definitely feeling the consequences. But on Saturday, I went to a Russian restaurant and had Russian food, and that was really good. Really, really good.
Did
So
you
that
have
was
like
pretty
any
cool.
fish heads or anything like that?
No fish heads, no caviar.
I got that from That's So Raven, by the way, just to be
Oh,
clear.
there
That's
we
where
go.
most of my Russian cuisine knowledge comes from.
But yeah, it was fun. It was a great time. And then Saturday night, because I was so exhausted, I was just chilling and watching movies. So yeah,
This is what it's like to be 28.
that's
Wah,
right.
wah.
That's right.
What kind of costumes did you see?
I
I mean, I know you didn't see a lot, but I wonder if there's anything like, was it stuff that's like relevant to our social situation here?
Saw a couple superheroes.
Sure.
Let's see here. What else? Actually, a couple days later, on Sunday night when we were having dinner, there was actually a group of a couple expats who had Teletubbies costumes on. So that was pretty funny. Let's see here. What else? Saw a couple Captain Jack Sparrows.
Really? How is that still a thing? I
don't
mean, I
know.
know it's a very popular series and everyone recognizes it, but I'm just
Right.
shocked that someone would think of that as a costume idea. Like that movie
Right.
hasn't been relevant in like 10 years, maybe less.
Well,
than
you
that,
also have to think of what's available here in China. You know,
Right.
what you can order. And I mean, that one's definitely popular enough where you could easily find a costume on Taobao. Also, unrelated note, we should do an episode on delivery stuff in China because I now have the app to get food delivered.
Oh, gosh.
And other than work, Jared, I don't think I'll have to ever leave my apartment ever again.
Have you even using it?
I used it yesterday. And I
Okay.
used it in Beijing over the weekend as well. And
All
the cool
right.
thing is not only can you get like food from restaurants delivered, you can get like, this is a drink I really like. It's Schweppes. It's called C+. It's like a kind of like a carbonated lemonade. Like I got this delivered while I was in Beijing. You can get everything under the sun. It's really crazy.
Okay.
Really crazy.
We need to do a deep dive on that later. I'm not even going to get into that right now.
Right.
Did you consider wearing a costume? Did you consider trying to make something work?
So I did. So the wonderful girl that I was staying with, her roommates went as Miguel from Coco, and his girlfriend just went as like a Day of the Dead, like had the face paint of a skeleton. Mm-hmm. And so I asked them, I said, well, if you guys have time and if there's any left, you could paint me up like a skeleton as well. And then by the time they were finished,
he said, please.
there wasn't I did. There wasn't really that much face paint left, and so I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to go with the costume this year. So yeah, but still had a great time, costume or not.
Here's the thing, though. I don't blame you for not costuming up or not trying harder to costume up, because, especially being in a place where Halloween isn't really celebrated, walking around in public in a costume can be kind of scary, and at like a culture you don't really know that well. So I don't blame you for not trying that hard. I probably wouldn't either.
Right. Well, in Jinan, at least, I always get enough stares as is without a costume.
Exactly.
So if I was in Jinan with a costume, that would
honestly
elicit even
just
more
think
stares.
of any white person with a beard and just wear normal clothes and just say you're being that person.
You know what's funny?
Christian Bale.
I gave a lesson on Halloween during my conversation hour on Wednesday. And the funny thing is that I showed the students, I said, well, I was trying to think of costumes for like bearded guys. And I think it's Avengers Affinity War, Captain America has a beard.
Oh, right.
And just Google, or you probably know what it looks like, Jared. But so I showed the students on Bing images of Captain America with a beard, and they all once again simultaneously went like, oh, and then afterwards a few students came up and talked to me, and they were like, you would have been a perfect, like, you look just, I don't think I look just like him, but maybe it's because I'm white and they think I look,
First of all, but isn't the Avengers really popular in China? None of these people have seen the Avengers?
No, they have. No, they thought I looked a lot like him when they needed to.
Because you said when you pulled up the picture, they were like, I got you. You don't look anything like him. Actually, I take that back. At first, I was just saying that. You kind of do look kind of like him a little bit. I'm not going to lie. When I was pulling it up, I was like, Chris, of course, Chad would love if to hear that he looks like Chris Evans. And I was like, but he doesn't.
Of course.
Now I'm looking at it. You kind of do, dude. You kind of do. If you let your hair grow out a little bit so you could waft it back, put it back a little bit more, you might. His hair is a little more blonde than yours, but it's still brown, Right. You could pull that off. You might need to keep that in mind.
He's a good-looking dude. He's a good-looking dude.
He is a very
Maybe
good-looking dude. Yeah. I'm enjoying these pictures. And the
funny thing was, I caught one of my students on WeChat. So WeChat, you have moments, which are kind of like Facebook stories or Instagram stories, right? Mm-hmm. And he took a picture of the first slide that I had with Halloween. And he also took a picture of me standing next to the PowerPoint slide with the Chris Evans Captain America with a beard. So I thought that was really funny.
You do look like him. I'm gonna agree with your students. Anyway.
there we go. Well, Jared, I think it's time that we spread a little love. What do you think?
Spread a little love. I agree. Please.
So, my first one, this one really, Jared, I'm doing this one for you. Because when I read this headline, you, of course, came to mind. And maybe you've heard about this. So, I think it's Elena. I'm not sure. Elena I'm pretty sure it's Elena. Gasler from West Grove. Won $25,000, she's 14 years old, for an innovative car design that would install cameras to make blind spots non-existent.
Oh, I saw that today.
Yeah.
Yes. This is
Isn't
cool.
that crazy? 14-year-old installed a webcam onto the vehicle's pillar and then projected a live feed onto the camera that shows inside the pillar. So for drivers, they would be able to see what's on the other side of the pillar, making the pillar all but invisible. And the pillar here, we're talking about like in the window when you look back.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Right? Yeah.
It's the pillar that connects like the windshields, like Yeah, no, I saw that, and to be honest with you, the pictures didn't look that great to me. But even just having, I feel like there'd be some. I don't know. I'd like to see it in action, but the concept is obviously, I think, great, and the fact that the concept is being put in place to potentially be bought by a big company that can spend the money to actually develop the initial concept. I think that's awesome, and
it is super awesome. And developed by a 14-year-old girl from Pennsylvania is also pretty remarkable.
Pennsylvania too. I didn't realize it was Pennsylvania. Shout out to my old home state. That is awesome. Right. I mean. Most innovation, I think, probably does come from young people, but even 14, that's impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, so we want to spread our love to Elena Gasler for creating this awesome...
You betcha.
Groundbreaking invention, and I think she has a bright future in front of her, and it's really amazing. So shout out to you. That's super awesome. The next one, Jared, here at the Untranslatable Podcast, we are big promoters of language learning. And one thing that we tend to not talk about very much because neither of us have the knowledge or the expertise in this field is indigenous languages. I definitely don't know enough about them to talk about them. We don't want to misinform our listeners about things with indigenous languages, but we are definitely supporters and proponents of keeping indigenous languages alive and promoting them through media and different things. And so this is a really great story, Jared. This comes from British Columbia. There is a hospital staff in British Columbia that is learning, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, I think it's Gitxsan language, to connect with indigenous patients. So they have a phrasebook and on-site translator available for patients at Hazelton's Wrench Memorial Hospital. So the staff are learning Gitxsan phrases such as a little early... Well, not really an untranslatable, but an early new phrase for all of our listeners out there. Hinda Willowin, which means how are you, in an effort to make healthcare more accessible for indigenous patients. Gitxsan is spoken by approximately 1,285 people, according to Statistics Canada, primarily in the Skeena region of northwestern British Columbia. And though most Gitxsan speakers can also communicate in English, having doctors and nurses use words and phrases in the local language sends an important message. And I agree with that 100%. And then I quote, you can see people smile when you try to speak the language. Dentum told CBC Daybreak. That shows that we are here for them and we understand that we're not Gitxsan, but we're trying to do the best we can. So I think this is really amazing. And about 80% of the people in the community served by this hospital are Gitxsan. So I think it's really amazing. And Dentum is actually the one who published a pocket-sized phrasebook for hospital staff to use, complete with illustrations of different body parts. And the hospital also employs a translator who is available for more complex conversations. So I think this is great. It's incredibly inclusive. Yeah. So shout out to the Wrench Memorial Hospital in British Columbia, Canada. I think it's really amazing.
Shout
a heartwarming
out.
Story.
Yes.
So Jared, I have one last shout out for us today.
Okay, sure.
I hope I'm not stepping on your shout outs. I'm assuming you don't have any. So here we go.
No.
So this one I can definitely get fully behind because I have been experiencing this every weekend when I'm not doing a workshop. And that is that Microsoft Japan is now currently experimenting with a 3-day weekend, which has boosted worker productivity by 40%. So believe it or not, Jared, as it turns out, by not squeezing employees dry like a sponge is perhaps a good thing for companies and corporations. Japan has a reputation for not being the best country in the world regarding work and life balance. And it's a reputation that makes sense considering that the country routinely scores toward the bottom when it comes to employee satisfaction around the developed world. For decades, this has been a well-known problem, usually resulting in companies having after-hours meetings to try to figure out how to reduce after-hours meetings or just shrugging and declaring it can't be helped. But some businesses are taking actual steps to address the problem, and one of them is Microsoft Japan. So last August, Microsoft Japan carried out a working reform project called the Work-Life Choice Challenge Summer 2019. That sounds like a title that would be in The Office, the television show The Office. But anyways, for 1 month last August, the company implemented a 3-day weekend every week, giving 2,300 employees every Friday off during the month. This special paid vacation did not come at the expense of any other vacation time. And the results were incredible. First off, the reductions, the employees took 25.4% fewer days off during the month, printed 58.7 fewer pages. Let's save these trees, people. And used 23.1% less electricity in the office since it was closed an extra day. And these different things also saved the company quite a bit of money. This also followed by productivity, which went up by a staggering 39.9%. That means even though the employees...
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm not sure. But even though the employees were at work for less time, more work was actually getting done.
Right.
I'm not really sure how they do measure this, Jared, but yeah.
I get the idea of productivity going up. Like, I get how that could happen. I mean, one... people like sort of work, I feel like, to the time that they have. So if you can get the same amount of, and there's so much time spent at work, like dilly-dallying, or as you mentioned, I mean, I'm in the corporate world. I've definitely been to my fair share of meetings where I half the time, I'm not half the time, that's a little, but like so many times I'm like, I feel like I don't need to be here.
Right.
Or it's like a meeting is scheduled for an hour, so it has to last an hour or something like that. And I think all that stuff, when you have one less day, all that stuff really gets put into perspective, and you sort of start to use your time more wisely.
Right. And I can tell you, as someone who, other than the weekends when I have weekend workshops, I have a 3-day, sometimes even 4-day weekend here in China. And I tell you, I definitely feel way fresher during the week. I feel like I get a lot done during the days I work. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really great. I think for a lot of businesses, and I think in the future, China will have to address this problem, because at least a lot of Chinese companies, they really overwork their employees. Like, I have a friend in Beijing, and he works all the time. He just works all the time. And I think in the future,
US, where like staying late is like the highest virtue you could have as an employee, or like showing how dedicated you are by spending nights and weekends at the office is how you do that. Where it's like, I mean, but you're neglecting your family and you're exhausted. So,
and you're neglecting not only that, but you're neglecting, I think, a lot more. You're neglecting your health, your mental sanity,
your own health, mental health. Yeah.
So I think it makes a lot of sense what they're doing. I think that's really awesome. So shout out to Microsoft Japan for trying this out.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll switch to it permanently. Maybe I mean, it sounds like from the amount of money they could save and the productivity that they're having, I figure why not? But I'm also not the CEO of Microsoft Japan, so I'm probably the wrong guy to be saying that.
I had a job where we could take half days on Friday during the summer. And that's like a small step in comparison, but I think it definitely had a lot of benefits, just even that little step. And honestly, most of the companies I've worked at, Friday's almost definitely the least productive day. And on a regular basis, I've been in the corporate world. It's always like the office is always like someone's always out. Like there's never a full office on Fridays already. And it's like if people aren't even going to show up, why are we even like pretending that we're doing this? But
exactly.
I like that.
I agree.
So clearly, this hits close to home for me personally.
Right. No kidding. Well, Jared, speaking of things that hit close to home, I think it's time that we.
This hits so close to home that this sound came out of Chad's favorite room in his parents' house. The bonus.
That's true.
This is the Untranslatable Owl, because it's time for Untranslatables.
That's right. Mind if I get us started, Jared?
Yes.
So my first one is Polish for you, and it is, we'll see if I pronounce this right. pronounce this right.
Off to a good start.
Right. Slon nastapil si na ucho, or probably na ucho, and this means did an elephant stomp on your ear?
It's like, are you deaf?
No. I'll give you an example, Jared. This is like, say, we'll be talking about nightlife and partying in a little bit. No. We'll be talking about nightlife and partying in a little bit. And maybe you go to a club, as Jared frequently does.
Yes.
And you're hearing the DJ, and you're just really not vibing with the music, and you go, did an elephant stomp on his ear?
Oh, it's like no musical taste, or like...
There we go.
Okay. I've definitely been in a lot of those situations at like a bar or club where I'm like, oh, this song, and I look around and I'm like, oh, so I'm the only one that realizes that this is a terrible song?
Right.
Okay. All right. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe.
Probably not, though. My first untranslatable is Korean, and it's Geichin Seo Yong Nanda, and it's a dragon rises from a small stream.
Dragon rises from a small stream. Big things happen when you take small steps?
Not really.
Not really? Okay. Dragon rises from a small stream. Expect the unexpected?
No. This is a popular... There's a very popular untranslatable here in the U.S. It has to do with the American dream, one could say.
Pull yourself up by your bootstraps?
Very close, but that's not the untranslatable I'm looking for. Rappers might rap about this a lot. Talk about how, like, started off in the bando.
Start from the bottom, now we're here?
Yeah. Maybe something regarding what their clothes look like and now how they're living.
Oh, rags to riches.
There you go.
Rags to riches, okay.
A dragon rises from a small stream is from rags to riches.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Also, I'll show you.
I hope you... Right. This dragon's going to rise from the small stream. That's right. That's right. Untranslatable Podcast. Dragons rising from the small stream. I was going to say, now you got the song, Sarah from the Bottom, Now We're Here, stuck in my head. So thanks for that, Jared.
Yes. Listen, that wasn't even untranslatable. That's on you for now.
It wasn't.
Being on the ball.
That's true. That's true. All right. My next one is also Polish for you, Jared.
Okay.
And it is bulka z masłem. And it means it's a roll with butter.
It's like everything's going well. Everything's great. This is awesome. Everything's easy.
There we go. That's what I was looking for. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, baby.
Piece of cake.
That's right. Piece of cake. A walk in the park.
Yeah.
A walk in the park.
What accent was that?
Let's try to do a New York one. Wasn't a good one.
It's a walk in the park. That wasn't very good either. I don't know how to do like all right. It's my next one is Danish, and it's du kan fa en prut og pille I. That sounded like it.
You can something.
Yes.
You can something.
You can have a fart to play with.
You can have a... I mean, that already brings a good image to one's mind, right? You can have a fart to play with. Oh, I feel like I know what it means, but I don't know how to express it. Like, you can...
It's very simple, the answer.
It's like...
Very simple. One word. You could explain this untranslatable in one word.
One word. Fun?
Is that fun, playing with farts to you, Chad? No, that's not.
Okay, maybe not.
It's
smelly?
Not,
I don't know.
Fun. What? So imagine, you were talking, imagine you really wanted to go to Karlovy Vlasnia in Prague, and you're like, "Hey, Jared, let's hit up the club," and I said, "Oh yeah, cool. You can have a fart to play with."
So it's like I'm down?
It's the opposite of that. It's no.
Oh, okay. No, okay. Oh, that makes sense. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. My last one for you today is Chinese. And it is
good.
Ni pi ziyang. And it means to have itchy skin. Or, sorry, your skin looks itchy.
It's like you're a shady person.
You're close. You're close.
You're lying to me.
No,
I don't trust you. You're untrustworthy, but that's shady.
This would be more like basically say you go to the club, right? You go with your girlfriend, and some guy starts hitting on your girlfriend, and we know Jared's a very aggressive and violent individual. So
betcha.
Jared's gonna be like, "Hey, your skin looks itchy."
Oh, so it's kind of like
Slipping on gator piss.
it's like be careful, watch yourself.
It's basically kind of like
You're crossing the lines.
Exactly, you're crossing the line. I might have to kick some ass. I might have to beat you up.
Yeah, that's how I would say it. I might have to kick some
right.
ass here. Don't make me kick some ass.
That's right. That's right.
Speaking of kicking ass, what are some kick-ass places you've partied in, Chad? So what are your favorite cities that you personally can say
Me
top
personally?
party cities?
Top party cities.
I can go first so you can think about it if you want, because I just threw this on you, but I wrote down my list.
I mean, the one that obviously stands out by far that I don't think can be beat is Berlin.
Sure.
Berlin just has everything and anything.
Sure.
You can start your party at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. on a Friday night and party straight through until Monday morning. I've never done that,
party
but you could.
At noon on Saturday.
Also true. And end at like 9 on Monday morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
so
the party
Berlin
just goes all weekend there.
Right. And then I would say number two is a tough one. Because I really love Amsterdam. But also Prague is up there and so is Vienna. I'm going to say, though, because of the size and the price, I'm going to say Prague would be my number 2. I think it's fairly affordable to party in Prague.
Yes.
It's easy to get around to most places in Prague, either with Uber or with the metro or with the tram. So I'd say my number 2 would actually be Prague.
Okay. On my list, I have Berlin and Vienna.
Okay.
But then I have
Are they
one
tied
other
for
one.
number 1?
No, number one. Now, the tie for number 1 might be Berlin and New Orleans.
Oh, okay. Let's hear more about New Orleans.
I mean, New Orleans is an obvious party destination. There's no denying that. But there's the mix of one of the very few, if not only, I think very few. I'm not going to say only places in the United States where there's open carries, so you can drink as you walk down the street. That's usually not something you can do in the United States, but you can. Oh, you can do it in Vegas too, I think, in certain areas. But like you can do it in New Orleans, where you can walk around with your drinks. They are known for ridiculous kinds of drinks and ridiculous sizes. So on the street, you can get like a 32-ounce thing of beer for like $4, if
that's
not
pretty
cheaper. Good. You can get hurricanes, which are super sweet, like juice, rum drinks. You can get daiquiris, also very popular. So they're very, very popular boozes, and also flourishing music scene. So
Right.
Obviously, the live music wherever you turn. And then there's also a lot of clubs, and it's all very easy to get around by foot also.
Oh, that's a big plus. That's a very big plus.
Yes, it's very walkable.
Yeah, what are some things you consider actually, Jared, that at least to you, what makes a good nightlife destination?
I would say variety options. So not just like a place that is known for like clubs. Like I need more than clubs. Even if I like clubs, which I don't really, but even if say I liked clubs, I would need more than that. I would like a variety. I I would say it has some sort of something that can like personally identify it as a unique place. So like, New Orleans is known for it's got a lot of very popular drinks, and it's also known for its for I forgot what I was gonna say. I had another one and I totally forgot it was the music, excuse me. The music scene.
Okay.
Berlin is known for its crazy clubs and sort of its weird times, like the weird party time specifically.
Yep.
I think is a very Berlin thing. Even though other cities do that, I think it's just and so I think it has to be something unique about the city. It has to be easy to get around the city. Most people that are partiers, especially if you're not doing like a house party or something, would like to go to more than one place. Most people don't spend their entire night at one place. So it has to be easy to maneuver. Like some cities might have great options of places to go to, but like, for example, maybe a city like Atlanta, like there's a lot of great places to visit, but it's a very spread out city. So you're going to have to get a car, whether you're, obviously if you're driving, that's a whole nother consideration. If you're trying to, drink or something like that, you can't really do that. Or you're going to have to get an Uber, which is, expensive, blah, blah, blah. So those are some of my main consideration factors. And a good demographic. So I like a good, young, diverse demographic,
Sure.
Ideally. We could talk about some of the top party cities around the world, and I just have a list of some of the top party cities and why they are the top party cities. We'll start with that. Keep it
sounds good.
Simple. Now, number one. Now, this is not really in any specific order, but just think about some that would pop out in your head of the top party cities.
Top party cities: Madrid, Spain.
Madrid, Spain. Now, let me actually do a search. Madrid. That is on the list, Chad. No, it's not on the list, actually. I've
just heard it's a great place to party. And it's funny, Jared, when I was doing research, I also have a couple different lists of like best party cities, and they were all completely different.
Yeah,
like
mine
there's
too.
There's no uniform. Like this is the agreed upon party city of the world.
Well, all right,
which I thought was
lists.
interesting.
We both have seen lists and use them as inspiration. Let's talk about what we think some of the top party cities are in the world. We'll just go back and forth. I'll start with, an obvious one, New York City. It's classic. It's got everything you like. It has clubs, great bar scene, music scene. It very easy to get around. The very extensive and 24-hour running public transportation system, and it's a very diverse and city with a lot of different very diverse scenes, and not just like racially diverse in crowds of people. I mean,
sure.
And so that would be an obvious number one right there.
I think another big one in the States, I would say, would be Chicago.
Yes.
I think Chicago is also a good city to go out. At least the few times I've gone out in Chicago, it's always been a lot of fun. Can be pricey if you don't know where to go, but I really like Wrigleyville is really cool. Lincoln Park is also awesome. There's a lot of and Chicago is great too because you get a lot of different diversity in terms of options of places, people, live music. It's really great.
Yes, I agree. Chicago is one of my... In Chicago, to me, maybe just because I've been there more, just for some reason it seems a little more manageable than New York. I mean, it's still a giant city, but it just seems like it's a little bit easier to manage. An obvious one to me, and this is only because I like Formula One, I would say Monaco in France. Seems like an obvious
that'd be a cool place to check out.
Seems pricey, not going to lie.
Yep.
But I like the idea of yacht parties.
Oh, for sure. Yacht parties would be awesome. I think another great party city, too, is Amsterdam. Because Amsterdam has everything that you could want in terms of craziness, debauchery, whatever. You have the red light district. There are some cool, interesting clubs there. I think, and Amsterdam also is like a beautiful city. Like at night, seeing the canals and all the lights, it's really, really amazing. And I've always been a big fan of Amsterdam. It's a cool place.
I have one. We haven't talked about South America. I would say Rio de Janeiro would be a great one.
Oh,
Especially
absolutely.
around, is it Carnival, which is the big celebration there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I would love
I've
to
heard
see,
not only...
love to see that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I've heard not only is Carnival amazing in Brazil, but I guess also if you go to Barranquilla, Colombia, they also have a Carnival there that's also supposed to be pretty epic.
Okay. And I know a lot of
so Carnival...
of the West Indies islands celebrate Carnival too.
Right. And I know at least with Carnival, like it's just from my understanding of it, and maybe we should get somebody from Brazil on the podcast that can tell us more about it, because I would love to learn more about Carnival and the history and how it works. But from my understanding, it's like a bunch of parades and people wear like really like beautifully ornamented like outfits, and like people are just partying all day long. Sounds like a lot of fun. Sounds like a lot of fun.
And we'll talk
Now,
about that
Jared,
in a second. We'll talk about like the biggest parties around the world.
Right. Now, I do have a list, though, Jared, of some best nightlife destinations from ceoworld.biz. And I was surprised
That sounds like a made-up site or a site that gives a lot of...
It does, doesn't it?
Viruses.
It does. But the funny thing is, the number one destination in 2019, according to this source, is in the United States. But what city do you think it is?
Las Vegas.
Good. Yeah, very good. Very good.
You know, the only reason I guessed that is because when I was thinking earlier, I was like, oh, if we're talking U.S. party cities, and that just came, I was like, how are we not going to think about Las Vegas?
Right. How did we not mention it yet? Well, for me, I've never been there yet. So
I've
that's
never been there
probably
either.
Why. Right.
But I mean, it is like there. It doesn't seem like my cup of tea though. Like it's almost sort of in the same way that New Orleans is a great party city, similar to Vegas, except New Orleans has better music and I think more culture. But even in spite of that, New Orleans gets old for me after like 2 days in a row. You know, it's like I can only do so much here. I couldn't imagine spending like more than a night or two in Vegas, and I'm like, at that point, is it even worth it? But it does offer. Seems like everything you could want from a party. You know.
Oh, absolutely. Sounds like a great way to lose a lot of money. when I think of Las Vegas,
I think that's what Vegas is probably one of its biggest attractions is stupidly wasting money. Right?
No kidding. No kidding.
Did you know Tel Aviv was a good party city?
I did not.
One of Tel Aviv's informal mottos is the city that never stops, and its club scene is certainly indicative of that. Compared to cities in Europe and the United States, in Tel Aviv, you go out pretty late at night. Many clubs open their doors around midnight or later and stay open sometimes even until 6 o'clock in the morning. An added bonus is the lack of a dress code. The scenery is easygoing and non-formal, which means more fun.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I like that part.
I'm not a fan of like dress codes at clubs. I think I get that they want to have this image or whatever, but I just think it's kind of stupid. You know what I mean?
It's stupid too.
Yeah.
And people will dress accordingly, whatever that means. And if not, then they won't have a good time, or they will have a good time, and then great. But I agree with you. I think it's dumb. And another thing I hate about that is the whole idea of waiting in line, only to potentially be turned down when you get to the front. Now that's something I will never put up with, because in my mind, the whole time I'd just be like, I'm definitely going to get turned down. This is all a waste of time.
Right. Well, and that's why I never even tried to go into Berghain in Berlin, which is like any techno listeners out there listening to this podcast, that is the place. You probably already know about it. I don't need to tell you about it.
We've talked about it.
We have. And Berghain is huge. But that's the thing. Like, you wait in line for like 2 to 3 hours. I remember my Austrian roommate went, and he actually got in. But he waited, for a while. And I can't imagine wasting 2 hours standing in line.
And I'd be concerned for your chances of getting in, because you have to kind of dress...
alternative
eccentrically, and that's not your strong suit.
Or you wear all black, one or the other.
Oh, you could do all black. I could do all black.
Yeah. But it still has to be like alternate. Yeah. Anyways,
Right.
yeah, dress codes are lame. Dress codes are
I
lame
agree.
for sure.
I agree.
Another
all right.
big
I
U.S.
have-
party city, though, Jared. Sorry, one other big U.S. party city that I think is worth mentioning. I've never been there, but I've heard a lot of great things. Is Miami, Florida.
Yes. Another scene that I feel like is not my style, but I get it. You know, I get it. I get why that's a big one. In these places, like for some activities you could do. Let's talk about some big like activities real quick. Have you been to any big party activities? Have you been to, for example, Oktoberfest?
I've never been to the Oktoberfest in Munich, but I've been to smaller ones in different places in Germany and Austria, and it's super fun. I mean, you know, you just go, you put on your lederhosen and your dirndl, if you're so inclined, and you hope and pray that the weather is good because it happens in the fall and it might be a little cold or even rainy.
Right.
And you hope that the weather's nice, and then you sit outside and drink beer and eat pretzels and other tasty snacks all day long. It's great.
If you get a spot in the tents, by the way, keep that in mind.
Also true.
Mardi Gras in New Orleans. I've been to Mardi Gras, but only as a kid, so I've never seen like the real debaucherous forms of Mardi Gras.
Okay.
But I have seen I have witnessed like that level of partying in New Orleans, and it's a ridiculous sight to behold. It's like you want to warn people to be like, "Come on, guys, you don't need to do this." Have you heard of Holi or Holi? How do you say it in India and Nepal? You probably have. You just didn't know it was called that. It's the traditional Hindu festival, also known as the Festival of Colors, that celebrates the beginning of spring.
Oh yeah, okay.
The vibrant celebration, which is best known for having its participants throw brightly colored powder at one another, is mostly celebrated in parts of India and Nepal. This peculiar celebration, which draws crowds from all over the globe, is seen as a time for people to celebrate, to get together and celebrate color, love, and the triumph of good. St. Patrick's Day in Dublin. Now that seems like almost too stereotypical to be a real thing.
Right, but I've heard that in the States, our Irish listeners, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I
I've
very
heard
well
this
could
too.
be. But
don't worry.
But
Say
I've heard
it
that we go
proudly
harder.
and confidently.
I've heard we go harder and we celebrate St. Patrick's Day more in the U.S. than they do in Ireland.
I can imagine that too. Are Irish people walking around wearing "Kiss Me, I'm Irish" shirts? Are they like I just
Wouldn't
can't
they just be kissing everybody then? Just walking around?
Yeah, that's true. Everyone's Irish. But I can't imagine. I feel like it's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like it's like 420 in Amsterdam or something, where it's like, yeah, no, we get it. Like, this is not like, it's not that big of a deal. I don't know. I just feel, I can't imagine that they're, but I'm sure it would be a cool, like, scene to be in, you know? Like, I honestly,
be fun.
I didn't know they celebrated St. Patrick's Day in Amsterdam, in Ireland.
Right.
But apparently they do. Now there's obviously one more adjective. Distortion. Oh, that's at first I thought it was like a European. It's in Copenhagen. Distortion is an action-packed international music festival that takes place at the beginning of June, touted as a week of orchestrated chaos. This mobile festival features dance music, street parties, and nighttime events in the city's buzzworthy clubs. The party moves throughout the city districts, wrapping up in the city harbor. Plan to dance the night away and enjoy an over-the-top party experience filled with future, pop, hip-hop, and electronic music, along with a lively club scene. Sounds kind of cool. I like the idea of going to different aspects of the city over a couple days, getting different sort of party vibes, but equally crazy parties. Now, this is one you've probably heard of, Coachella.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Would you go to something like Coachella out in the middle of nowhere in a desert in Indio, California?
Maybe. I mean, I would go there for the music. The music there is supposed to be, fantastic. There's a lot of big-time artists.
Top-level artists there for sure.
Right. But I don't know, I don't know, man. Music festivals, like, you're camping outside. You might not shower in a couple days. It can be rugged living.
Yeah, it doesn't seem as glamorous as the Instagram pictures make it seem.
True, very true.
Or it's like first of all, Indio, California, for those of you that don't know, is the desert. But it's just like, and so it's like you have to prepare, like you're essentially camping for a couple days, so you have to be prepared for that. And it's gross. And also you're like most likely in a state of perpetual hungoverness. And I don't know, it doesn't seem
drunkenness, one or the other.
Yeah, you're either drunk or hungover at all times. There's no, I mean, I guess that's what you want in those situations. Burning Man is another one. Burning Man's very similar to Coachella. Not similar. It's similar. Excuse me. It's not similar. It's only similar in the sense that it's in a desert and you're trapped. But like Burning Man, I think has this sort of community of like where it's like we're all a community, so nothing you don't have to pay for anything, and you know you like trade and offer services and but I don't think it actually ever really ends up working like that. I feel like it ends up being just a lot of people that show up in fancy tents or fancy like trailers and stuff. And but this is just what I've heard. I Burning Man doesn't seem to interest me. A music festival, something like Coachella, even though I feel like I might get sick of it after a while, I think because of the music, I could be into it. You know what I mean? I think I can make it work. Now, here's something I found interesting, something that we should take into consideration. We can talk about some more parties if you want. But I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about you in China and about some of your fears that you have as you know, going out and fully enjoying yourself in Jinan. And I thought about what are some laws that you might need to take into consideration around the world if you're wanting to let loose and party in these great party locations.
Let's hear them.
In Japan, enacted in 1948, it was this law was enacted in 1948. It is illegal to dance in the dark after midnight.
Oh,
however, this?
Okay.
Oh, I'm glad you asked, Chad. It was enacted in 1948 while U.S. soldiers occupied Japan. The ban was placed to stop liberal Americans from corrupting the good citizens of Japan. But
those Americans, you got to watch out for them.
I agree with that.
Slipping on gator piss.
The ban was finally lifted in 2015. You can dance after midnight as long as it's not in dark.
Okay. Well, most clubs have enough lights going that it's technically not dark,
I mean, does it have to be constant light or could it be strobe?
Right.
Bringing dirty magazines and alcohol to the Maldives is illegal.
Okay.
The Maldives is primarily an Islamic country, and so that's why it's illegal. And so
that's fair.
Leave your alcohol and dirty magazines at home. Gambling is illegal in India. Public displays of affection illegal in the UAE, United Arab Emirates. Actually, just recently, a couple was convicted to a month in prison for kissing in a gas station restroom in the UAE.
What? I have so many questions.
No, that's a great.
I have so many questions. Like kissing in a bathroom, kissing in the bathroom. Like, do they have cameras? Like, how do they? Did someone else see them? Like, how? Obviously, somebody saw them. Right.
Okay, here's another good one. Crushing a can of beer between your boobs is illegal in Western Australia. You can be charged a fine up to $1,000 for crushing a beer between your boobs.
How did that become a law? What? I just picture like a guy who was like a politician had a bet with a girl that she couldn't crush a beer with her boobs, and then she did. And he's like, all right, we got to make this illegal so that won't ever happen again. Like, how?
I think that's honestly the only explanation right there.
Right. Like, that makes no sense at all.
Now, this is an obvious one. having drugs is a very tricky situation. Don't travel with drugs. Know drug laws where you're at, too. Mm-hmm. Now, don't travel with drugs is the obvious one. But
Right.
if you are so inclined to try to find those drugs where you go, make sure you know those laws, because tourists have, in Southeast Asia, it's notoriously, and Southeast Asia, it's notoriously very illegal to have drugs. You know, in some places, maybe in the U.S. or Europe, you might get slapped with a fine or a court date or something. But you're not gonna. There's, I mean, the U.S. is a little different depending on your race, but it's unlikely that you'll be in prison for small amounts of marijuana. In some places, for example, other drugs, who knows? But in Southeast Asia, for example, tourists have famously fallen victim to the laws for carrying drugs internationally or accidentally. An Australian model faced 15 years of prison time in 2005 after police said she brought 2 ecstasy tablets into a Bali club. She was released, but other traffickers, as they call them, have been executed for similar drug offenses. Avoid unknowingly. So even if you just check your bags before you go, even if you don't mean to bring any drugs, even if you're not a drug user or purchaser, just check your bags. Maybe you have a aspirin rolling around somewhere.
Right.
In Thailand, no, they have very strange blue laws, which is like alcohol-related laws. If you like a glass of wine or a cocktail, you can only purchase alcohol during lunchtime, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., or dinner time after 5 p.m. And so that includes bars and restaurants. You can only buy alcohol
No
from
midday cocktails for you, Jared.
I got to get them in from 11 to 2. So I'll order my last one at 1:58.
There we go.
In Scotland, it's illegal to ride a cow drunk. This law.
I mean, that one, although it's funny, I feel like that's a good law. Like, people probably shouldn't be trying to ride cows when they're drunk. I wonder how many people get thrown into jail.
It started in 1872, when things like riding cows or having or horses with carriages was more common. But it's still on the books today. It's illegal to wear lacy underwear in Russia. So if you're trying to, you put on a good impression for after the club, careful. Find a nice pair of wholesome granny panties. I
have so many questions. Like, how do you? What?
A 2014. I'll tell you. Chad.
Go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
A 2014 law in Russia, Belarus, and Kazakhstan states undergarments must be made with a minimum of 6% cotton. Why? They claim it is for health and safety purposes.
Okay.
So there you go. They're just trying to protect your delicate parts, you know? Thank you.
Good on you, Russia. Yeah,
the officials of Belarus, Russia, and Kazakhstan.
Oh, that's funny. Any other crazy laws, Jared?
There are many others. Check your local listings. Those are all the ones I'm going to provide here today.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, the thing is, I think regardless of what country you go to, and there's so many great options all over the world, I think the key, though, if you really want to have a good time and really take full advantage of these party destinations, is to go with the right people. I think that is key.
Yes.
Make sure you're going with good friends, or maybe you make some new friends while you're traveling, because going to a party by yourself, although you can do it, it's not easy. It's not as much fun. So yeah. Now I will say this though. Another fun way to enjoy any party destination, especially a lot of European cities, and to see and experience a lot of different places, is also a pub crawl. But be careful with pub crawls because they tend to be marketed towards tourists, so they're a bit pricier. I've heard of people, at least in Prague, that go on certain pub crawls, and I think because you're in a big tourist group and everyone's you kind of have a target on your back. People have had their phones stolen in the club, their wallets stolen. So just be aware and be careful of those things. But yeah, there's a lot of great places around the world. A few notable mentions that I'd like to give before we end the segment. Apparently Hong Kong has great nightlife. I've never been there before, but apparently Hong Kong has a lot of really cool bars and clubs and stuff.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Also, there is a place called Cloud 9 in Fiji, which is a floating bar, and they have wood-fired pizzas, refreshing cocktails, and DJs. So that might be kind of cool if you're into that kind of thing.
Yes.
French Riviera Carnival, which would also be pretty cool. I mean, Carnival anywhere in the world looks like it's pretty lit. Obviously, any variation of Oktoberfest can be a lot of fun. So there's a lot of really good options out there. And just don't be afraid to try some new things and have some fun. Speaking of parties and having a good time, we are bringing you today a very special and poppin' song of the pod today by I believe he's Brazilian artist named Rincon. And it's called Moi Bloco, which I think means my block.
Yes.
But I could
Very
be wrong.
good. No,
And this
you're not
song
wrong.
will get you hyped for your night out without a doubt.
Yes. I love this song. Really gets you pumped up. He's a rapper. But it has a very like South American vibe to the beat still.
Oh, absolutely.
And I love it though. It's great. And it really does get you pumped up. And I'll tell you this, no party is complete without the proper playlist. I don't care what kind of
For
party
sure.
it is, whether it's like some sort of classy dinner affair or whether it's a rager. No party is complete without the right playlist. And I think that this, even for people that don't know the song, could easily fit into a party playlist and keep the party going with
absolutely.
no problem. Actually, I might
Even if you
I might
don't
keep
speak
that in mind.
Portuguese.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, you get that he's yeah. Especially if you have the music video going. I mean, you probably didn't see the music video,
I didn't see it, no.
but it's a great music video too, where he's just like he's essentially just saying like if I'm not mistaken, just like like essentially repping his block, talking about how great his block is. But through that he talks about how like no better place to be. This is the best place to get everything you need. Kind of also saying
Right.
like this is the best party spot, for example. My block is
Right.
where everything's happening. This is where the nightlife starts, ends, and continues on the next day.
Exactly.
I like this song. This is a good one.
And I love the way it starts. It starts with like some like percussive drumming. And it is definitely will get you hyped from the first second you hear it until the very end. It is
Yes.
a powerful song. Like you can't
betcha.
listen to this and not be ready to party and ready to dance and like just have great vibes. It's an awesome song. So check it out on our YouTube channel, Untranslatable Podcast. Moi Bloco by Rincon. Yeah, super awesome song. So Jared, speaking of foreign languages, I have a Chinese phrase for you today. And it is, now I've heard it pronounced differently, so I'm not sure if it's a dialectal difference or what it is. But ganbei or ganbai, and that means cheers. Literally means bottoms up. But in
I was gonna
China,
say I've heard that one before, but that's why I've heard it.
And in China, though, there's two things about cheersing people. When you say ganbai, you, in theory, you're supposed to drink bottoms up. So you drink the entire drink. So, for example, I learned this when we were, I was at a lunch with some Chinese people, and they had these little glasses for beer, and I was like, I'm like, why do we have these little? It looks like a brandy glass, or like a for like a shot of like an aperitif or something, or a digestif after your meal in Europe. And but then it made sense because every time they would toast, we would drink all of it. So it's a way to not have to chug, half a liter of beer, every, and so you can do more toasts. And another cultural thing as well about doing like a cheers in China is you want to go lower. You want your glass to be lower than the other person to show them respect.
So
the higher your
glass has
glass,
to be
the higher
higher.
status. Yes, in theory. Yeah. But it's kind of a fun game because people keep, low, and eventually
Right.
like you can only go as low as the table.
Exactly.
Right?
So you're just sliding your glass along the table at each other's glass so they're even.
Right.
And
So
then
it's
they,
kinda
like, you
interesting.
don't realize that someone snuck and gave you a bigger glass. And it's like, oh, nope, you win. Sounds like
Right.
a fun game. I have a Spanish phrase of the pod this time. And it's La alegría de la huerta. La alegría de la huerta, I think is actually how you would say that.
And what does that mean?
Life of the party.
Oh, okay.
La
That makes
alegría
sense.
de la huerta.
Nice. Sounds like your pronunciation's getting a little better. I don't know if you've been practicing or not, but it sounds like it's
I don't
getting a little
know.
better.
It sounds like it does, doesn't it?
Yeah. Maybe it was just the confidence today. We were talking about parties, getting in a good mood.
Yes.
You were just
I
ready.
don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know either, Jay. I
Fiesta.
really don't. But
Right. Probably shouldn't have chosen that song.
that's
But
so it's time for some jokes, though, Jared. So I got a couple party jokes for you. So, Jared, how do Australians get home after a night out?
did you guys ask me a joke?
How do Australians get home after a night out?
Kangaroo. I don't know.
They take a kangaroober. Very good.
Oh, kangaroober. Ah.
Okay, let's see here. I thought I had a couple more. Let me find them real quick.
Really lost steam there, Chad.
I did, right? I did. Oh, here you go, Jared. What vegetable is known for its excessive partying?
I don't know.
A turnip.
Ah. That's
Turn
a pretty
up.
good one.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That is a
that's
good one,
pretty
right?
one.
All right, let me see if I can find one more good one for you. Let's see here. All right.
No, now's the time to do this, Chad. You didn't. No. This is why we
That's
don't.
true. All right, we're
for this-
going to
for
move
fun
on.
moments like this.
Right. We're gonna move on. All right. So to recap today's episode, I think there's a lot of great nightlife destinations. I definitely, after talking to Jared, want to check out New Orleans at some point. Berlin is always great. Prague is awesome. Madrid would for sure be really cool. It really depends on what your party scene is like. Are you
Yes.
are you a dancer? Do you want to? I myself am also. Although I like to dance, I definitely tend to prefer like sitting at like a bar with some like nice music and like just chatting and joking around with my friends.
Yeah, I like live.
So keep that in
music, too.
mind. Live music is also great. So yeah, just keep in mind what type of a party person are you and which destination best fits or suits
You betcha.
what you want to get out of the experience. But there are definitely a lot of them. Check them out, and we hope you enjoy and have a good time partying. Remember the party laws that Jared mentioned so you don't get yourself into any trouble while you're out and about in different countries. So I think this has been a fun episode to discuss some different places. And I'm glad you mentioned the laws as well, Jared. Some of those were really fascinating. And so we hope you were able to get a few new places out of today's episode. Let us know, though, at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com if you have any special places where you like to, as Jared said, let your freak flag fly. So let us know what places you like, untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. If you need a lit song to start your night off right, check out our Song of the Pod on YouTube, Untranslatable Podcast. Muy Blanco by Rincon. It's fantastic. Also, check out our Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast, for clips and other cool pictures of our travels and different stuff as well. And lastly, please, 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. Let us know how we can make this podcast better for you. Send us some untranslatables. We would love to hear from you. So, as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, Recuídame, muchas gracias, and shisha.